Hey everyone, today I'm gonna speak about a small application which is gonna be written in JavaScript and jQuery and run in Node.js. And let's start now. And I will start by firstly show what we're gonna have in final. Here I have generated 15 rectangles and I'm clicking the move button so they start moving and bouncing on the corners and coming the opposite direction. And now I'm gonna show you the source code, which is right here. First of all, let me show you the actual HTML, which is quite simple. It consists only of the button that I was pressing, which is not an obligatory thing, and the actual canvas with ID of canvas, where the whole magic is gonna happen. This is the canvas tag, and also I've included this script tag with my main.js script file. And now I'm going to show you the actual JS file. This is it, and run it with you line by line. So first line is defining a variable canvas, which goes into the document and finds the element with ID of canvas, which was our actual canvas tag. And the second one defines the context variable, which takes our canvas object and gets its context of 2D. This is a property of our canvas which can be 2D, 3D, etc. And it will give us the opportunity to actually modify it pixel by pixel. Next line, I just defined a constant num point, which is 15. We can change it to any number we want, and this will be the actual number of our squares. And then I defined an empty array named points where I'm gonna put my not yet moving squares later. Then I defined the array of my colors, which is gonna be red, blue, green, and orange. This array is gonna be randomly chosen some items for every square so that we don't have a color of one only and it would be a boring things. So I've decided to put some imagination here. And then I've defined a for loop. This is the part where it works. And from e equals 0 to e smaller than number of points, and by increasing e every time by 1, I'm pushing into my points array this object that I defined here. The object has to have an x, y, width and height, also x delta, y delta, and the color. The x is going to be the coordinate of our square in the canvas, which is going to be a random number multiplied by canvas.width, so that the actual coordinate doesn't go smaller or bigger than our canvas is defined in. And the same happens to our method y coordinate, which is the vertical coordinate. Also, I'm going to define some random number of our height and width. And here I have the x delta and y delta equal to 1. This is the number by which our x and y coordinate are gonna change in our canvas so that we have our actual animation later. And finally I choose a color from my colors array, which is happening by the math floor of math random times colors length. This is just an expression that I formed to choose a random number starting from 0 to 3, which is the indexes of our colors array. And when our for loop ends, we just have 15 random squares in our points array, which are just objects right now. And here I defined my draw function, which is gonna draw our squares in the canvas every time we call it. First of all, I clear the canvas in this line so that we have it clean every time we draw something, because every time we draw we have changed the pixel stuff there, and if we wanna make an animation we have to keep it clean. And then I go through the points array, and for each an item of them, which I'm gonna be calling point, I choose the fill style of context by the color of our point, and I fill a rectangle starting with point.x, point.y coordinate, and filling it with the width and height mentioned in my point object. And in these two cases I'm just checking if my point is going out of my x coordinate here, and the same with my y coordinates here. And if I do so, then I'm just changing the x delta and y delta to -1. I'm just multiplying it by -1, so whenever I bounce to the corner again, I will have 1, 2. And this happens just because every time my point x and point y are being summarized with point x delta and point y delta, so that I can have the animation of movement here. And finally I have my animate function, which is a recursive function. Every time I call it, it calls the draw method. And sorry, this is a mistake here. And I set a timeout of 10 milliseconds, and every time 10 milliseconds pass, the set timeout calls the animate function again. So we have an infinite loop of animate functions, and every time I'm gonna draw the squares in the positions they have to be right there. And finally, after this everything, I'm just calling my draw function to have the not moving yet squares on my screen when I open the file. And here I'm just using jQuery for selecting my button, and on the event of clicking it, I'm calling a function which is gonna call the animate function for it. And for not using it every time I press the button, I just put the property of disabled on it. And this is what we were seeing right before. It was quite simple. Thank you for your attention. Bye.